We all know music can make us feel happy or sad, right? Easy. But what about those other feelings? You know, the sound that builds suspense in a movie or makes a video game boss battle feel totally epic? Yeah, that's not an accident. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on music's secret emotional language.
Have you ever been listening to a song and suddenly gotten a shiver down your spine? That feeling of tension, or maybe just pure wonder? Well, it's not magic, it's actually music theory. And trust me, it's way cooler than it sounds.
You see, composers and songwriters have a couple of secret ingredients they use to create these powerful moments. They're two specific types of chords that are literally designed to grab your attention and make you feel something specific. And today, we're going to learn exactly what they are and how they work.
Okay, let's start with our first clue in this musical mystery. This is the chord that shows up whenever things are getting dramatic or suspenseful. It's called the diminished chord, and its specialty is creating tension.
So what is it? A diminished chord is basically a combination of notes that sounds deliberately unstable and incomplete. It's the musical equivalent of a cliffhanger. It leaves you on the edge of your seat, waiting to hear what happens next.
And the recipe for all this tension is surprisingly simple. It's all about counting half steps. That's just the distance from one key on a piano to the very next one, including the black keys. So you start with a note, count up 3 half steps to add the next one, and then count up 3 again for the last one. That's it. A simple formula for instant drama.
So its whole personality is just drama. In written music, it's marked with a little circle or dim. And get this, it has an awesome nickname. The gap between its lowest and highest notes used to be called the devil's interval because it sounded so jarring. And on an instrument like a piano, you'll see the notes are packed really tightly together.
All right, we've cracked our first clue. So let's move on to the second secret ingredient, which creates a totally different feeling. If the diminished chord is all about suspense, the augmented chord is all about wonder and mystery. The augmented chord sounds bright, but also a little strange, almost like it's floating. It isn't tense and scary like the diminished chord. Instead, it creates anticipation, that feeling like something magical or surprising is about to be revealed. The recipe is just as simple, but with different numbers. Instead of counting by 3s like before, the augmented chords recipe is to count up by 4 half steps, and then 4 again. That slightly larger gap between the notes is what creates its unique, dreamy sound.
Here's a quick look at its key features. The sound is mysterious and bright. The symbol is a plus sign, which makes sense because augment means to make larger. And here's a super cool fact, it's perfectly symmetrical. It splits the 12 notes of an octave into 3 equal chunks. And unlike the compact diminished chord, this one is physically spread out on an instrument. So let's put them side by side. The difference is like night and day. You've got your diminished chord, tense and dramatic. Built with 3s, it's the smallest 3-note chord. And then you have the augmented chord, mysterious and dreamy, built with 4s, making it the largest. 2 simple recipes, 2 completely different feelings. Okay, so we know what these chords are and how to build them, but why do they work? Why do they have such a powerful effect on us? Well, it all comes down to a core concept in music, the relationship between tension and relief. The secret is a term called dissonance. Both diminished and augmented chords are dissonant. All this means is they sound unresolved or a little off to our ears. They create a musical tension that our brains instinctively want to hear fixed or resolved by moving to a chord that sounds more stable and pleasing.
A great way to think about it is that these chords are like a question mark at the end of a musical sentence. They leave you hanging, expecting something more to come. They pose a question that the music just has to answer.
And that answer is called resolution. When a dissonant chord, like a diminished or augmented chord, moves to a stable consonant chord, it feels incredibly satisfying. That journey from tension to relief is what makes music feel like it's telling a story. Without the question, the answer wouldn't feel nearly as powerful.
But they don't create the same kind of tension. Think of it this way. The tension from a diminished chord is sharp and edgy, like a jump scare in a horror movie. The tension from an augmented chord is more of a floating, dreamy suspense, like when a character discovers a hidden magical world.
All right, theory is great, but the real fun is hearing these chords in music you already love. So let's go spot them in the wild. Once you know what to listen for, I promise you'll start hearing them everywhere. You can hear them all over the place. Film scores use diminished chords for suspense and augmented for magic. Same for video game music during a big event. Jazz is absolutely full of them. Even pop and rock songs slip them in to build excitement, often in the bridge before the final chorus. And of course, heavy metal loves diminished chords for that dark, powerful vibe.
So here's maybe the best way to think about it. If normal chords are the main ingredients of a song, then diminished and augmented chords are the spices. You don't use them all the time, but a little sprinkle here and there adds that extra flavor that makes music so much more interesting and emotional.
And that's our deep dive into music's secret ingredients. The next time you're listening to your favorite song, a movie soundtrack, or a game score, listen closely. See if you can spot those moments of tension or mystery. Now that you know the secret, what new layers of emotion will you be able to hear?